Hi, this is Paul from TrendingWWW. Today we'll be speaking with Tracy Shawn, the author of the award-winning book, The Grace of Crows. Before we start with the book, I was going to ask you, as we have a luxury travel guide, if you could mention some things for our viewers about Southern California that you particularly like, because of all the places we do the stories about, that's their favorite. Everyone
Really?
loves it. Yeah.
Oh, well, the weather here is good. I have to say that. We have wonderful weather.
You're still in lockdown then?
Well, not lockdown. We can go outside. The restaurants are open outside dining, and people are still, exercising, going outside, hiking, swimming. So thank goodness that we have the kind of weather we can be outside, and people are meeting for picnics outside, social distancing.
I guess I'll start by asking you then again how you began your writing career.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And like most writers, very, very long journey. Always loved books. Were part of growing up. My mom read to me. I have really fond memories of my mom reading to me. And I had my favorite childhood books. And then from there, writing and creative writing courses in school. By the time I went to college, I had wanted to be an English major, and it didn't feel right for me because there wasn't really creative writing involved. So I became a sociology major, and kind of the writing was in the background. And then I went to grad school for clinical psychology. And then, the writing was still just like very, very back burner. I wasn't even really thinking about it. And I got my degree in clinical psychology. I was working on my hours. And then I had kids and decided to be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And never got licensed. I'm kind of a very sensitive person, so it was really hard for me taking people's problems home. It just wouldn't leave. So lo and behold, then I found myself writing articles, and you can work from home. I was writing for a small local paper and wrote sustainable living articles and how-to articles and branched out from there. And eventually, actually, a friend suggested, I was telling her about some ideas that were percolating, and I'll never forget, we were eating in a restaurant called the Paradise Cafe, and the seed for the Grace of Crows was born, and I took just writing course after writing course after writing course online and adult ed and writers conferences, and I honed my skill and it took me 8 years to write my debut novel, The Grace of Crows. It took a really long time.
8 years?
8
That's
years.
incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Sounds like you really put a lot of work into this, learning how to write and then doing the writing.
I have, and I guess I'm a very determined soul. I just, and I really wanted to see it out there in the world. And I queried agents. I couldn't get an agent. I finally got a really nice, thoughtful small press, and I'm very grateful to Cherokee McGee, the small press that picked it up. And and this is why I'm so grateful to you, Paul, people like you and Lane, who buy my book and read it and want to interview me. It's not so much about making any money off it at this point, but it's about readers reading it. I put all that time and effort, and I really, really appreciate readers picking it up, because that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, I'll bet after all that work, that would be considerable.
Yeah.
I know we do marketing work, and we always have people asking us how much effort to put into things, and usually they're thinking about weeks and months. And when you tell them something like you just did, which is what we would probably say, similar things to that, they can't believe it or won't believe it. They just can't believe you put 5 years into this project. Yes, and that's why it works. And they just couldn't, without being paid for some of it. I thought that's right. You know, you just push it along, and all of a sudden it's successful and everyone's surprised, but there's a lot of work that went into it. What was
That's true.
the inspiration for the book that you wrote?
There were two things that a lot of first-time novelists write a lot about themselves. And I have ongoing anxiety, and it's been in the past pretty debilitating. So I wanted to write a novel about anxiety because I've read I wrote the novel I wanted to read. I have searched and searched for novels about the main protagonist, about the anxiety. And there are some novels where the protagonist has anxiety, but it wasn't kind of the main theme of the book about the protagonist going on the journey to go over it. So that was one of the things that prompt me to write The Grace of Crows. And then the other part of that is that I did indeed have a childhood friend who I had become really close to. And that's the Billy character. And he was such a sweet kid. And he did end up becoming homeless. So I wanted to write about those two things together and the imagination of a woman finding her childhood friend who has since become homeless and how they can help each other.
It looks like you won a number of awards for this, The Grace of Crows. The Jack Eden Award for the Best Book in Contemporary Drama, second place in General Fiction for Readers' Views, runner-up for General Fiction in the Great Northwest Book Festival. That's quite a bit.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Yeah, having been under a small press, I did that all myself. I would look up the contest, I'd send out the book, and I was very, very happy to have won those because, even though it was traditionally published under a small press, I still consider myself an indie author because it wasn't, it's not one of the big presses. And so it helps because I hope that it helps readers consider it more.
It seemed like you did a really good job of making it a complex subject interesting to read. I couldn't put the book down. I finished it in 2 days.
Oh, thank you.
Because this is interesting. Just kept reading and all of a sudden I was finished.
Oh, right, that's good. An author likes to hear that. I appreciate it.
I think that must have taken a lot of work to get it to be that interesting because the subject would be a complex thing to write about.
I did. And okay, so here's for writers out there. I did, and not to mention any names, I had a adult ed writing teacher who in front of the class, and she knew what my book was about, said, and you cannot write a novel solely on a protagonist overcoming anxiety. And on break, I walked out of the class and I never went back. And I thought, I don't need to listen, even though she was the teacher. So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, you hear about rules. I mean, one of the things I found out, because the book had previously started with the protagonist waking up, is that's too cliche. So yeah, there are some good rules if you want to make your book marketable, but in your heart of hearts, if you want to write something, you don't necessarily listen to one person.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true.
Anyone that has anxiety and likes to read contemporary fiction, yeah, I believe, for me anyway, if I picked up the book and I hadn't been the author, I would have really enjoyed reading it because there's so many wonderful self-help books that are nonfiction. There we go. And it's, they have done studies, by the way, that when people read fiction books, they go on their journey with the protagonist. And I think there was even a study, I wrote an article a long time ago in Emory University where they did a study of the brain waves. And when you go on that journey, you become more empathetic and you feel like you've gone on that journey with that protagonist. So I think that if someone is suffering from anxiety, or if you have a loved one or a friend who has it, because I have had people who so kindly, you know, neighbors, friends, like, yeah, I don't really have anxiety, but you know, we'll read your book for you. And they told me, oh my gosh, you know, my stepson or my so-and-so has anxiety. And now I so get it. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh. And you do speaking events too.
I do. Well, and now no one's going out speaking right now, but I'm hoping to go back to that. So here's the other thing. I'm sure you've heard of the hero's journey, right? And that's the other thing that the book is about. A big part of the hero's journey is our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength because we work on it. We try to get over it. So I had, like so many people, I had a horrid fear of public speaking, really bad. And I had a speech impediment when I was a kid too. I still sometimes mispronounce words. So, or I can't think of them.
Yeah.
And so before the book was released, I had hired a publicist and she said, no, I may get you on radio or TV. And I'm like, oh no. And then I thought, well, wait a second, this isn't going to work out. I just wrote a book about a woman overcoming anxiety and then I'm not going to want to do these things. So no. So I found a local Toastmasters. And if for people who don't know what Toastmasters is, it is a nonprofit group that I think and it's become, I think it actually started in California. It has become global. I don't know how many thousands of chapters there are. And it's been going on over 90 years, I believe. And I found a local chapter and started going. And I get teary-eyed because the people were so kind to me. And they were so kind to me. And I made myself go by myself that first night. And they said to me, oh, we are looking forward to seeing you next week. And it was like such a shock.
I saw that one of your Toastmaster events where you were speaking on YouTube.
Yes, yeah. One of our last, we've been doing Zoom now because of course of COVID, but we did venture out with a limited amount of people into one of the local parks. And I did a speech about how the correct way to wear masks and what to look for and how to buy a good mask. And I had to really project because I was wearing a mask while I did it. But yeah, and then there's previous ones where I'm at the Toastmasters before COVID in the group. So that's helpful because then I can throw it on my YouTube channel, which I think, I don't know, maybe have 20 something followers. I don't know. I'm not a phenomenon at all, but there you go.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time.
And you're on Twitter. You have a lot of followers on Twitter.
And Twitter is my favorite social media platform. I went to a writers conference in San Francisco, California, and the social media guys, I wasn't on any social media before that. And they said, if you're going to do anything, get on Twitter and your assignment is to do it tonight. And I thought,
Yeah.
So I did it. And then I followed a friend that I knew all the way from junior high who I knew would be on there, and he followed me back, and then I just went from there. And so I really like Twitter because you can connect globally, and it's not about, I mean, some people might want to put on their vacations, particularly people who are, travel channel writers and bloggers and videographers. But, you can read, and for writers who are working by themselves at home, when you're in between writing and you're feeling kind of lonely, it's like, oh gosh, I have this global community of readers and writers and people, and I discovered hashtags like hashtag anxiety. It's like, oh my goodness, so many other people have anxiety. And it was like, if only I had known years and years and years before that. So I really like the connection there.
Oh, that's good. That's good that it's working so well for you.
Yeah, and we connected there, right?
Yeah, we use it a lot. We like Twitter. We use it for all kinds of things. But I would agree, it does have the global connection. You can find people everywhere.
it is. It's kind of exciting. I mean, that's the upside of social media.
And it looks like you just finished your second book.
I have a, I don't know, I don't want to say how many years that took me because I started writing it before The Grace of Crows. The Grace of Crows was released in 2013. I started writing it, I believe, in 2012, and it's 2020. I have gone through so many revisions and so many, I've paid editors and I've had friends and from that advice and writers conference and pitching it and yeah, but I feel like it's I think I've gone through until someone hopefully picks it up. I'm sure it will have to be revised again, but I mean, especially, you have to clean it up and have someone look at, the grammar and the, spelling and all that, because you can't, no one, even the most famous of authors can't do it on, they miss things because you just can't see, you're too close to it. So yeah, I'm hoping to get that out there and so I can move on to the third one. I really want to move on to the third one, which I've started writing slowly but surely. But yeah, it takes a lot of time to get it out there, especially if I decide to self-publish. So we'll see.
Okay.
Self-publishing, you can shoot it out faster, of course. But I think traditional publishing, I think it could take up to 2 years with traditional publishing.
From the time you're finished to the time it's published.
Yeah. Because with traditional publishing, unless you're really trying to push out something really quickly because it's timely with what's going on, with their editors and their design work and all of that, I think it takes up to 2 years with traditional. So we'll see what happens. One way or another, it's going to get out there, though. Paul, thank you. Thank you and Lane so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.